And now your host.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. I think it's been a while since we last had Rabbi Alan Schwartz with us, the spiritual leader of Congregation Ohev Tzedek in Manhattan, where he's been there since 1988, alumnus of Yeshiva College. He was granted smicha from Rav Yitzchak Elchanan Theological Seminary. Currently holds the Raymond J. Greenwald Chair of Jewish Studies at Yeshiva University. He's been teaching there since 1983. He also teaches at MDS as well as at Stern College. And he's written a fascinating books. We'll talk about his books, but the reason why we have him today, because he's initiated learning Tuesdays and Thursdays called Hakol Beseder Shas Review. So, Rabbi Alan Schwartz, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Zev. It's great to be on the program again. It has been a while, and I appreciate the opportunity to spread a little of this. It's called Hakol Beseder, and we will be running through the 6 Siddharim of the Talmud. We started just this morning with Maseches Brachos, and it's a 15-minute session where we get to go through the entire Masechta. It's a little challenging when we get up to, let's say, Maseches Shabbos. There's 24 chapters to try to do that in 15 minutes, but we'll figure something out. Maybe we'll do that in 2 sessions. But we're on target. We did Brachos this morning, and we'll continue on Thursday, please God, at 9 a.m.
Now, which is fantastic. I noticed there's a trend, we're talking off the air, that there's more learning going on via Zoom, via other internet applications, especially in the morning. I assume because of COVID, people are looking for other opportunities, but it also gives you a chance to reach out people who are not part of the shul as well.
Very much so. In fact, I hope through this program to reach people I might not have reached. That's a great chance for Habatzas HaTorah through your program. But also, I last night, in the snow, my Monday night shir at the shul traditionally would not have gotten so many people, but on Zoom it was great. So many people were able to plug in. So it's been something of a blessing to reach out to more people. They're spending an hour listening to a shir. They get the sources. We download the sources for them online. And it's like we're sitting together in the same room, but it's 40 different rooms. So, but it's all the same, and the learning is the same. So that's certainly a hidden blessing from all of this. And we didn't have a snow day. We had better learning. So it's great.
So my question to you, and here's a challenge for other rabbis as well. Once COVID, with God's help, will be behind us, which we hope will be very, very soon. So will there be a return? And of course, there will be a return to live shiurim, but I think the Zoom aspect is here to stay because you can reach so many more people at the same time.
No doubt, people will always want to have the personal effect. You can't serve dinner over Zoom, so Monday night we usually have dinner. Now I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to come when we're back. But you can when you're together, you obviously can connect in a certain way. But I think the Zoom is here to stay. I think shuls have, if I just a slight tangent, are going to want to shore up the time that we spend on Shabbos morning. I don't think that that during COVID the shuls have been tightening up the time for davening. I think that that's going to stay. I think that these 2.5 hour davenings are maybe of the past. We've been managing to daven an hour and 45 minutes, and even sometimes a little less. So maybe there are some things that will take that will last. I think people just want to be around other people, and they want to shake a hand and give a hug to someone they haven't seen in a long time, and the Gemara talks about making a bracha when you haven't seen someone in 30 days. There's some people we love we haven't seen in a year, and
that's a different bracha, right?
Yeah. So we're going with the shuls are evaluating. I just received something this morning from the RCA about the post-COVID plans and the committees and what's going to change, what's going to remain the same. This we hopefully will all be ahead of the curve, so that when we're ready to get back to normal, whatever that means, we'll be ready to hit the ground running. In the meantime, we have to be creative and make it possible for people to very conveniently just flip a switch and hear, a half-hour shir about a whole book of Tanakh or a 15-minute shir about a Masechta. that's. I think we have to get that. People get them under the belt, while we're still in quarantine, where we can enhance the learning as much as possible.
No, I love the idea, but my question to you is, before I get back to the actual learning, is that from what I'm hearing from other rabbis is, and you're correct, the long services, Shabbos morning may be history, even Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur might be completely different after this past year. But the real challenge, I think, in the modern Orthodox world is maybe getting people back to shul. Yes, still certain people be coming, but there's some people, and I'm hearing this, that are used to not going to shul on Shabbos. I think there may be a problem getting them back to come.
Yeah, I think we have to look at each constituency separately. My experience is that families with young children, that's been very tough to get them back. But look, right now, all bets are off. While it still might not be safe for some people, they'll stay away. We want to protect everybody as much as possible. But that I think the biggest challenge will be to get the young kids. Like, shuls aren't having children's groups right now, at least not indoors. We actually had children's groups in the outdoor sukkah area, and the kids were distanced. Kids are a little safer than older people, and we have to just bring their parents back. Let the kids usually tell their parents, "This is where I want to daven." They have a puppet show here. They have good candy there. They have good, So the kids will tell their parents where to daven. We have to make sure we give a great Shabbos morning experience for them, and they'll bring their families back. I feel confident that will happen. Got to get teens more involved. You can get very lethargic when you haven't been in class for a long time. This is especially a problem in Israel. But here, we just have to maybe, if it's starting from scratch, our people have done that in the past. When my father's ghetto was liquidated and he escaped and he came back, so our neighbors said, "Don't worry, in 2 weeks you'll be able to get your house back. You'll be able to return back to normal." Yeah, right. So if we had been told last March that we'd be here in planning Purim again like this and planning Pesach again like this, we wouldn't have believed it. But here we are. We have to be safe, and I just feel confident that with good creative planning, shuls I think they need to prioritize excellent children's programming. And we've made that a priority, and we're going to run with that and hope that brings them back.
Yeah, that's the Chabad model. That's one of the successes of Chabad, is having the kids bringing the parents, and I think it's a great model. They've been very successful with that all over the country and the world.
Quite so.
So getting back, we're speaking with Rabbi Alan Schwartz, a spiritual leader of Congregation Ohev Tzedek in Manhattan, and we're looking at some innovative programming that they have in place for people to learn just 15 minutes twice a week. And you alluded to it before, Rabbi Schwartz. Can you actually convey the taste of the Talmud, of the Gemara, in 15 minutes? And are you open to people who are not that familiar with Gemara? So is it good for beginners as well?
Yeah, I should hope so. I wrote a big note for myself, translate everything. I sometimes, when I speak too quickly, and of course you have to speak quickly if you want to do all of Maseches Brachos in 15 minutes. So, you have to try to make it what's called Shavah L'chol Nefesh, make it equal for everybody. And I also want to appeal to people who know a thing or two. So, I shared a little a Chiddush of the Vilna Gaon and a little etymology of the word brachos. When we say baruch Hu, we bow, we bend the knee. So berech means knee. So when you blessed someone in the ancient world, you bowed to them. You're blessing your God. You got to bow. So berech, knee, and body parts were always very early on in a language's etymology and etymological development. So the word berech, knee, became bracha, became something of a blessing. So because you bend the knee when you bless something, like we do at Baruch Hu. So we go through a little scholarship, a little drash, a little pshat, a little pilpul. Try to do all that in 15 minutes. It's a little creative, but we'll see. So far, I hope we got through brachas that way, and we'll see how we now get through the rest of Zroim, which is a little esoteric. It's mostly the laws of agriculture in Israel. But each Masechta will have its own challenge, and I hope to continue with that and take it straight through.
So you're open to beginners and people who are more advanced, to men, women also invited?
people will tune in and see, well, no, this is too much for me, or this is too little for me. And hopefully, you can't make everybody happy with everything, but hopefully there'll be a little something for everybody. And it's taped, so you can just you can listen to it at your own time. But if you want to be there in live and make a comment or two on in real time, so that's at 9:00 on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, and it's called Hakol B'Seder, because the 6 orders of Shas are called Sedarim. Each one is a Seder, so you're going to get the whole Seder over time.
Now, how do people access this? How do people tune in, whether it's live or after the learning session officially is on Tuesday and Thursday mornings at 9 a.m.?
Well, I mean, it's right on the show's website. We send out the blasts of everybody a few times a week. Just to how to get on. But it's on the show's website. We'll tell you, and you can all the shiurim you can get that way.
I'll give that information. That's ozny.org, ozny.org. If you want to zoom into the learning that takes place every Tuesday and Thursday, 9 a.m. live, and you can access it anytime afterwards. Rabbi Alan Schwartz is our guest, a spiritual leader of Congregation Ohev Tzedek, a prolific author. We're going to be right back. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Hi, this is David Gabe, and you're listening to The Zev Brenner Show.
Talkline radio and TV with Zev Brenner is just phenomenal. Everybody concerned about the Jewish community should listen and watch. He has the best guests. He asks the most interesting questions. He's always so well prepared. It's talk radio and television from a Jewish point of view at its very best.
To advertise on the Talkline network and Talkline's email and social media blasts reaching over 70,000 people, please call 212-769-1925, extension 100. That's 212-769-1925, extension 100. Or email info@talklinenetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community. You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Zev Brenner. Our guest is Rabbi Alan Schwartz, the spiritual leader of Congregation Ohev Tzedek in the west side of Manhattan, been there since 1988. He also holds the Raymond J. Greenwald Chair in Jewish Studies at YU, where he's taught since 1983, teaches in Stern College, as well as in Manhattan Day School, Manhattan, and he authored a number of scholarly books, Sfarim, including commentary of the Rokech to the book of the Mishlei, as well as his Pesach Haggadah, and his new book is called Conflict Resolution, the Early Prophets. Good to speak with you again, Rabbi Schwartz.
Always a pleasure.
So you have such a diverse amount of books. I understand two more books are in the works, and we'll get to that in just a few moments. But with Pesach not too far ahead, let's first focus on the Haggadah. So what makes the Haggadah different from the Haggadahs that are already out there?
Well, that's a question I might want to ask somewhere during the Seder. This Haggadah is different from all other Haggadahs because it's actually 4 Haggadahs in one. The Haggadah is called the Four Sons Haggadah. And everything that is discussed in the Haggadah is presented from the standpoint of 4 different approaches. There are 4 different children that show up at the Seder. Right? One is a Chacham, he's wise. Another one is Shener de Elishol, which I call withdrawn. Then there's someone called the Rasha. I don't like to call the child wicked. He showed up to the Seder. He was wicked. He wouldn't have showed up at all. We call him a cynic. He needs his own special types of responses. And he is asking a question after all. And then the 4th one is the Tum, who I don't call simple. I call him pure. He's actually the favorite one of the 4, because if he's simple, then it's incongruous in terms of the classification of the children, where 3 would be classified by their intellectual capacity, wise and not able to even ask a question, and simple, and only 1 by morality, which is Russia. Rather, the Tum is pure. He's the one opposite the Russia, because the two of them are often parallel in biblical verses, as the Vilna Gaon points out. And the Chacham is opposite the She'eino Yodei Lishol, the withdrawn child. So every question, every point that's raised in the Haggadah has a response in order to appeal to each one of these children. You don't want to give an answer for a She'eino Yodei Lishol, for a withdrawn child, that he might need a very different kind of answer than a cynical child might need. So that's what the Haggadah does. It takes upon every paragraph from the standpoint of these four different approaches.
What I like from what you're saying is that the Russia, who's considered the evil one, is certainly the verses in the Torah have a different answer, less of an edge than the ones in the Haggadah, where they talk about putting his teeth on edge. And I think it's absolutely correct, because I had asked an outreach rabbi, I think it was a Chabad rabbi in San Francisco, is who are the easiest people to outreach to? And he says the people that are asking questions, even if they're cynical, even if they're, somehow have a negative attitude, they're the most easy people to reach out to, considering somebody who's apathetic is something who doesn't even show up to the Seder, doesn't show up to the classes, doesn't show up to the synagogue. He or she is the hardest people to reach, because they're not interested. As long as they're engaged, you can reach out to them.
Absolutely. What's worse than the She'eino Yodei Lishol is the She'eino Rotzeh Lishol, right? What's worse than the one who doesn't know how to ask is the one who does know how to ask, but doesn't want to ask. We've got to reach that person too. We've got to reach out to people. But if they showed up at the Seder, I have an answer for you. So that this Haggadah will hopefully help you navigate those kind of questions. The questions are something like, how can you prove to me that these 10 plagues happened, or certain contradictions in the Torah? Whenever I had something in the realm of scholarship, I always gave that answer to the cynical child. So I was able to make it a very of course, I fabricate the questions. I'm asking the questions. My Haggadah. So I'm able to give multiple approaches under the guise of responding to four different types of children.
Now, you take on different approaches, and I guess it's a harder book is Conflict Resolution, the Early Prophets. I know you specialize in Tanakh, but we don't really teach the prophets in yeshivas as much. We teach mostly Chumash, mainly Gemara, and we sort of tend to lose Tanakh, Navis. So I'm glad that you have a book about it. And I know for a while you were doing learning in Tanakh for the general public as well. What can we do to promote more learning of Tanakh?
Well, you can get this book for Nevi'im Rishonim. It's the early prophets, the books of Joshua, Judges, and Samuel. There was another study included Malachim that was based on my work. And it basically, with the conflict resolution, are found over 100 cases in the early prophets where there was a violation of the Torah. That's the conflict. But in order to get into the book, you have to, there has to be a case where the biblical author seems to be oblivious of the fact that there is a Torah violation at all. Right? If the story says Vayas hara b'nei Hashem, he did evil in the eyes of the Lord, that doesn't get into my book, because it's clear that the author thought that that behavior was wrong. So this is actually was originally meant to be a polemical work. The Bible criticism says, of course, Shmuel doesn't know certain laws of the Torah. The Torah wasn't written yet. That's not it's an untenable position for us. So we show that the rabbis were very much aware of the fact that the book seems to be oblivious of the fact. Let's say that David takes back his wife Michal after she was the wife of another man, or David sends a peace treaty to the Ammonites, contravening the Torah's law that L'tidrosh l'shlomam, not to do so with the Ammonites. And in those cases, the biblical text seems to think that there's nothing wrong with those things. So that's the basic point, and I collect all the answers and the resolutions that are found in rabbinic literature, and in footnotes mostly the post-rabbinic literature, and that's what we have to do to make the Bible as interesting as possible, as scholarly as possible, and as learned as possible. So we have a very broad audience. I have these 4 children, not just at the Haggadah. I want them at my table studying Bible too. So it has to be again shavu l'chol nefesh, for equal for everybody. And I hope that this book will it was printed by Kodesh Press, and it's really wonderful to work with them. And that's the latest book to come out. But I just finished another one that I'm just sending again to Mosaica Press, which did the Haggadah, which is a Parsha book. And that is also something special. At Ohev Tzedek over the years, I've been speaking quite a bit over Shabbos. I start Friday night with a more spiritual kind of word to get the Shabbos rolling. And Friday night is a time where we celebrate creation. It says Tachlis Masei Shemayim Ba'aretz, and it's all about the creation in our prayers. And then I usually at the end of the service have what's called a Musar moment, some kind of quick snippet that people can take with them. And in the book I start with the Friday night Dvar Torah, and I go to a Shabbos morning Dvar Torah that basically introduces the Parsha, and that's with Shabbos morning prayer stresses the Matan Torah that we're going to read about this coming Shabbos in the Parsha, and that's called Yismach Moshe B'Matnas Chelko, and then we move to Musaf, which is all about the Messianic era, where we'll return to the service of God in the temple. And then Mincha is all about Atah Echad B'Shimcha Echad, like B'Yom Ha'ohi Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad, which is for Olam Haba. So we go through like a historical framework of mankind's purpose, starting with the Garden of Eden, going straight through history all the way out towards the Messianic era. And those are 4 separate Divrei Torah that run through Shabbos, each with its own purpose.
So here's my question to you. You mentioned that you like to have the 4 sons, including the Russia.
Well, here it's Pshat, Remez, Drash, and Sod, the 4 different approaches to biblical literature that our rabbis tend to take, which spells pardes. That you get into the orchard of Torah with these 4 different approaches to Bible. So, and then the Musar moment is the 5th, which is which gets to the that comment that of some kind of aphorism for life. But then there are 5 other parts of each parsha. One is a Dvar Torah for birth. So it could be a Shalom Zachar, a Simchat Bat, a Bris, a Pidyon Haben, anything that involves birth. Then there's a 7th Dvar Torah about Bar and Bas Mitzvah, coming of age there. Then an 8th Dvar Torah about marriage and anything that involves like a Sheva Brachos or anything of that sort. And that's actually 6, 7, 8, yes. And then there's a 9th Dvar Torah, which is about Shalosh Shudas. And then there's a 10th Dvar Torah, which is the word of the Parsha, some kind of unusual word that appears in this Parsha. Like this past week would have been Mechuspas, like it describes the mun, or maybe the word mun, right? Each Parsha has like, for Noach, it's Sohar, right? For Vayetze, it's Sulam. That word, which common word that means ladder, only appears once in the whole Bible. Sulam. Why is that the word for ladder? So, and then we talk about ancient cognates, Akkadian, and some other Semitic languages like Ugarit or Arabic or Aramaic that might influence the Hebrew word, and how it's been used over the years. And those are the 10 Divrei Torah on each parsha. And
that's not a very big book. That's going to be out when?
Well, it's in time for Bereshis. Bereshis is out. And just sent it to Mosaica Press for getting time for next Simchas Torah. So this will be a little like the Haggadah in that it's a little something for everybody. And let's say it's Parshas Vayetze, and you're going to a Sheva Bracha, and then they asked you to say a Dvar Torah. So you got to get this book and look up Vayetze and get to part 8, and you'll see about marriage. And there you go. You have a homemade Dvar Torah ready to go.
Sounds sort of looking forward to the book. We have to have you back when that happens. Before I let you go, though, you mentioned about the 4 sons, and you want the 4 sons to also participate in the learning that's taking place. So here's the challenge. With COVID, I'm sure it's even more difficult. How do we get more people? Because if you look at most Jews today, they're apathetic. They're not involved with religion. We have Baalei Teshuvos and people who've come to Judaism, but the majority of Jews really have no knowledge of what Judaism is all about. How do we reach out to them? What do you think is a good approach that we should be taking but are not doing?
I think we have to be ready to do things that we might have been a little apprehensive to do. I think maybe we should dance. Maybe we should be dancing. Maybe at Kabbalah Shabbos we should have dancing. Obviously, it's an Orthodox shul. Just dancing, just dance like Simchas Torah. Maybe we need to have more creative kiddushes. And we have to be creative. How to get those people back in? Maybe it's to have surveys, but we have to be ready to do things that we might have been apprehensive to do in the past, might have been shy to do, and say, listen, the shul, people just want to go to shul. Maybe some people just want to go to shul and get it over with. Friday night at Oev Tzedek used to take an hour and 10 minutes. It was always very electric. And, remember after 9/11, I don't know if you were in shul at the time, when those firemen came in after 9/11, about 40 firemen came in, and we gave like a 15-minute standing ovation.
Wow.
And they were all crying right after 9/11. It was just amazing. We arranged for them to come in from all over. And they just they walked in, they saw the packed shul. And and people have to have those recollections and repeat them and make and create memories for them. But maybe some other people don't want that. Maybe they just want a 35-minute, 40-minute Friday night davening and get out of there and have dinner.
So you can have an express minyan and a different minyan.
Maybe shuls that have multiple rooms. Maybe everyone wants to be in their own little thing. I don't know, maybe Sfardim and Ashkenazim. We have to be a little creative. Boards have to maybe have those surveys. What do you want in order to get back, right? But we have to do it because look, we're up to it. Jews we're very resilient.
And as you were talking, you remind me that Yeshiva Never. Here's the thing, though, with the Litvish or modern Orthodoxy, one of the problems they have is very cerebral, but they're missing some of the Hasidic spirit. I know why you try to bring in a Mashgiach Ruchni, a spiritual Rav, a rabbi, to try to bring more of the Hasidic flavor into it. So what you're saying is maybe modern Orthodox shuls have to have more Hasidic flavor, the singing, the dancing, and maybe the big kiddush or the more elaborate kiddush. I have a theory that the more from the congregation, the more elaborate the kiddush, and the less religious the congregation, the worse the kiddush. I don't know if anybody ever done a real survey. It's just one that I joke around about it, but maybe that's part of it is being more innovative, more creative, and try to reach out to people and listening to what they have to say to bring them back into shul.
Perhaps. Look, there are always different constituencies, and I think on Shabbos morning we have to tighten up the davening. I think if people get out of shul and start at like 9:15, and they're out by 11, it might be open to having, let's say, a learning program once a month, or to stick around for lunch. Or I think we have to shore up the time. And
but do we have to make davening a little bit more exciting, though, because people just daven through the words, not knowing what they're saying, and so there may be something where it becomes rote as opposed to being inspirational and spiritual. So maybe we can do something also about that as well.
Yeah, maybe in each davening, concentrate on a different part of the davening. Maybe instead of a sermon, let's talk today about this part of Musaf. Anybody know why we say Tikanto Shabbos with Tzisuk Avanoseha? We spell the alphabet backwards. What is that? What does that mean? Why do we do it? So there are some excellent Rishonim and commentaries. There's an Or Zarua that explains that amazingly beautiful in light of a verse in Sefer Zechariah, what that's all about, and it becomes an incredibly beautiful prayer. So yeah, I think we have to get into more of that.
Rabbi Alan Schwartz, spiritual leader of Congregation Oev Tzedek Manhattan, thank you for joining us. I invite everybody. They can also hear some of Rabbi Schwartz's classes. He does 50-minute classes Tuesday and Thursday mornings, where you can get a taste of Talmud. It's called Hakol B'Seder Shas Review. You can go to ozny.org for more information. And are your books on the OZ website as well, Rabbi Schwartz?
Yes. The office has they're all available there. The Mishlei, the Haggadah, the conflict resolution, and please God, just in time for Simchas Torah, Parsha book.
Look forward to that. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Zev. It's great to speak to you again, and stay well, stay healthy.
Amen.
Excellent.
Thank you. And we're going to be right back. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
Thanks for listening.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.